All right, guys, welcome back. This is the finals. I am super excited for this one. I did not get to watch this one, so I'm watching it for the first time right now. I really don't know anything other than the final score, so I accidentally saw that. So I want to check this out and watch this with you guys. I'm super excited, but before we're gonna watch the intro.
Greetings, old school magic blades, and welcome to the 4 Horsemen.
All right, so this is Chris's deck. Talked about this twice already. I really enjoy it. Um, it has a good sideboard. If you're wondering about Whirling Dervishes, they're awesome for getting around Black and Abyss. There's Desert Twister. There's a lot of sideboard things that get around. Concordant Crossroads get around things. It's really a really good mix, especially with Shatter Storms and stuff like that. So I'm not going to spend too much time here because we already talked about Chris's a lot. We're going to go off to Kim's deck, which is a watched in a video already, but I'm going to kind of go through here real quick. You'll see the counter spell. I'm still curious on how well the flash counters ended up doing. I wouldn't know on average how many targets a game did the 3 flash counters actually affect, because that's something I am interested in knowing, because when I look at the totals of what they can affect, I put 1 in my main deck actually, so I'm curious to see how they do. And I do like this deck. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get going. When I play a lot of the combo creatures like that, I typically like to do a green mix. Um, just because of the elves, so it gives me 8 ramp cards instead of 4. So that's my only thought process is with the 6 drops and only having 4 stones. I'm curious to see how everything goes. But this is a great deck. You can see the detonates; those are huge. Pyrotechnics, I'm a huge fan of those. Typically, even with a fireball, I really don't do over 4. Worst case scenario, you do a 5. That's rare with a fireball, so pyrotechnics is pretty close to about the same anyway. You have flash floods, active volcanoes, and the artifact blasts. Those are huge, and that's one of the reasons I put a flash counter in, stuff like that, and divine offerings and things like that. So I'm curious to know how 3 flash counters in a deck worked in the tournament. Obviously, it got to the finals, so we're doing something really good here, but I'm curious about the data on how often they were used. So let's get down to the game here. I won't bore you anymore. Let's see who goes first. Now, there was a couple cards on there, and the reason I saw total is he told me I had to mull down to 4. So he went all the way down to 4 cards. You can see it on this dice there. So for Kim, that's a quick Underground Sea and pass. There's a factory. That's a good response. You might as well get the factory out at this point. That looks like a desert and a stone. There's a scrub. Attack for 2. I would tend to go fast because Kim does have Abyss in his deck. If he happens to draw it, that is brutal. So he got pretty lucky here with 2 stones. Typically with a 4 off, you're going to have 1 in your hand. See, that's something I would have held in my hand, but he must not have any other lands. There's a quick remove soul on the pixies. Yeah, because that would add up really fast. If he had another land, he probably would have played it. Well, it's played out the good way anyway because there's a factory. One more land and Kim could start putting out the big stuff, so Chris is going to need some more regular lands here. Or Scavenger Folk. That's a quick pass. Looks like Kim's probably has a bunch of sixes in his hand. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Let me adjust this back out. There we go. There's a greed. Now that is a chancy card. I tend to only play greed if I have Ivory Tower and Mirror Universe in the same main deck. Because greed is chancy, and without the ability of either getting one of those two, either one for a quick life switch and win, or one for life, because you can't play more than one tower. Sorry guys, I'm not sure why it keeps... I know looks like a lot of people in this one. So we're probably adding and removing a column here. Alright, well there's a killer bees. That could be a major problem. Now if I was Chris next turn, I'd probably do an alpha strike if I pulled a land. There's a chain lightning on the bees. The reason I say alpha strike is he has a Maze of Ith, and he's ahead on dice. Maybe not sure what's going on there. Now if you're one about 4 horsemen, we're pretty easy going. We're about the gathering. The most important part about Magic. Oh, we're probably talking about toughness. A lot of people don't, unless you're messing around and, Tony Z and other guys that I absolutely love, miss playing with those guys. But Spitting Slug is awesome. I actually learned from Tony how powerful that card actually is. So shout out to my buddy. I haven't seen him in a hot while. Pixie is very dangerous to Kim. Now, see, what I meant about it is that Maze of Ith is also an attacking thing. So if Chris attacks all out, the only thing Kim has is a factory. He can only choose one thing to block, and the maze can unblock whatever that was. Most likely, it'll be something it could kill, or even the Scavenger Folk, because if Scavenger Folk is untapped, he will not activate his factory. See, he's afraid of getting something blown up, but I play it anyway, because I'd rather have the factory online. Oh, there's an ATOG. But here's the thing, I actually wouldn't mind him sacking a stone or two because that would take him off of 6 mana. So I think if I was Chris, I'd still attack all out because I'd want him to sack a stone to the Atog. I might attack with everything except for the Scavenger Folk. The only challenge is I know Chris is having land issues. Yeah, I'd attack with that, and yeah, that's what I would do. If he does block with the Atog, Atog's going to have to eat something, and you can still remove your Pixie from combat. If he eats after, I guess it depends on the timing of it, but I don't think he's going to want to block with his Atog because he's going to have to eat a stone, and that takes him off of the mana he needs. Now he can't play the 6 drops. But I would have played one last turn, a 5 or a 6 or something, just to get the Scavenger Folk out of the game. Yep, this is what I thought. I think this might hurt Kim. The way he was tapping his mana, it looks like he had a 6 drop he wanted to play. Yep, there's the untap. There's the hit for 2. I think Kim was better off just taking a full 4. Or double blocking it, but then he would have lost it for, yeah, so there isn't anything he could do. Oh, it looks like Chris found a stone into a Kurt Ape. Now Kim's down to 5 mana. Alright, he has 6, but he can lose life doing the 6. So let's see if he does it. He's already down really low. So I'm assuming this is the king. Yep. Alright, so Chris is playing a bunch of black creatures, so that's not going to help Kim all that much. Chris doesn't have a crazy amount of black. Let's see what Chris draws here. That city does turn Chris on for every color mana now, though. Yeah, I'd attack with the Spitting Slug and the Pixie and the Ape. He's not going to be able to stop everything. If he blocks with the Tog, he has to either let it die or sack another stone. So he could take the Tog against the Pixie. Looks like he's going to activate, but on activation, Chris is going to probably respond with the Scavenger Folk. At least that's what I would do upon activation. Because even if Kim drops a Abyss at this point, or is he Divine Offering? Wow. See, if I had Divine Offering hand, what I would have done is sack my Scavenger Folk to blow up the factory, and then I would have Divine Offering the stone if he ended up sacking it. Or, I'm sorry, if he didn't end up sacking the stone, I would have Divine Offering the stone on end step, or just to make him eat it for no reason at all, or give me 2 life. But either way, it would bring him down to 4 and a City of Brass included in there, and he's already at 6. So I'm not sure if that point of damage is going to matter, but we'll find out in a minute. So this is where I'm assuming he's using his maze to take away whatever was blocking the big 5/5. You know Kim is not going to attack because he's just going to die if he does. So there's the damage from the ape. Looks like we lost the pixie in the combat here. I'm sure it's because the factory was sacked to the Tog. That's actually perfectly fine. That doesn't really do much. He only has 1 more artifact and he's not going to lose another mana source. Because right now, in theory, he needs 2 mana. I think that original stone sack really hurt him a lot. Yep, Spirit Link to 5/5. And probably Alpha Strike. Pass. Alright. So my thought is he only had 3 creatures. Chris could have attacked with 4. So one of the ATOGs was going to die. It was either going to be the factory or one of the ATOGs had to eat an artifact. So in my mind, I think Kim would have ended up taking 1 point of damage going down to 3. And that's a big problem because that's going to turn his City of Brass completely off. Okay, there's the remove soul. Now I would, yeah. See now with that other one, we have to wait. There's 3 ATOGs, but he only has 1 artifact, so Kim really can't go on offense at all. But if he was at 3 life, he wouldn't be able to use his cities at all. He shouldn't really use them now either, but if he's at 3 life, alright. There's a play to get rid of the Spirit Link. Let's see what Chris top decks here. I'm curious why the life gain though. I wonder if that triggers because a legendary effect. Well, actually no. Must. Okay, yeah. Looks like it passes the rules with the life gain. This is actually why I main deck Pyrotechnics. In fact, I'm thinking of going back to a Pyrotechnics main deck instead of a flash counter, but I feel like the flash counters are more useful. In my version, at least. One flash counter only. Because it could keep for a remove soul or something like that if I need it endgame. He's going to take a point and drop a big guy. This is where that Divine Offering would come in a lot of handy. Basically, he'd only be able to ping for 2. Because in order to stop Chris's Divine Offering gaining life, the Triskelion has to only be able to do 2 damage, and it has to do 1 to itself. So it wouldn't be able to kill Kurt Ape or anything like that, and in response you could have sacked to destroy. Looks like he's going to decide to kill the Kurt Ape straight out. There's a Scavenger Folk. Yep, camera fell. There we go. There's an all-out swing. Change of mind. I was going to say that's probably a big mistake. He has all 4 of his Atogs, but they're really not useful. What's he going to do? Sack his only 2 mana bases and bring him down to 3 mana? Can't go down to 3 because you'll die from a Chain Lightning probably. There's an ape. Alright, looks like we got 2 in hand on Chris's side. There's a Maze of Ith. At this point, I don't think this game is going to end by creatures. The only way I see that happening is if Chris gets his champion out. And the pass. Yeah, I think that's the right move. I mean, can't do anything, can't use greed. He can't go down to 3 life. Now that's a problem for Kim. That second spitting slug is... that could be a big problem. It's not yet, but... I mean, technically, Chris could start throwing out an Urnum because the Forest Walk is irrelevant. He's got a Maze of Ith at the moment, but that is a chance move too, so I probably would not play one yet. But you're pretty close to the tipping point. If Chris pulls 2 more creatures off, no. I think at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, he only has 5 mana. They can't play him. I was going to say the Tetravis would be great to split it off, but he can't play it because of City of Brass. I'm guessing that's on the Scavenger Folk. Man, this thing really likes to move today. Sorry, guys. Nope, Kurt Ape. I'd really expect to get rid of the Scavenger Folk because if you get a Tetravis out, you split it off in a bunch of 1/1s and start pinging for basically 2 to 3 life a turn. Yep, there's the champion. Holy moly. Yep, so Kim has 6 possible defenses, including Maze of Ith. So all Chris needs is to tip a little past that point. He's basically at 5 because all his creatures are green, they're all going to get a +2 defense, so they are outside of burn. And the pass? Yeah, that's all Chris I think can really do at this point is pass. The only other thing Chris could do is, and it's a chance move too, but if you Chain Lightning him now, he's down to 1, which means his 2 mana is negated out, leaving him at 5. And that would be a massive reason not to sack stones. Looks like he stopped decking another land here. But yeah, if Kim can get a Tetravis out, the problem is that Scavenger Folk now. He's got to get rid of that Scavenger Folk, because if you top decks a Tetravis, it could really swing things his way. Yeah, this is what I would do. Because you're going to start pinging out a creature each turn. If not, you're going to attack the mana source. If he sacks the stones, you can do that Chain Lightning I was talking about. And you know he's going to sack stones. He's going to have to, otherwise he's dead next turn. Yep, that's the only choice for the maze. Now the rest of it is going to have to block and maybe triple block. So he's using a desert, but you have to declare blockers. Otherwise, he's going to end up getting killed next turn, so he's got to block. This is where I was just pointing out the stones. You touch a stone for a second, but that's going to end up killing him. Now all he's got to do is just maze. Yep, maze of 5th. So we lose 1, but he's down. So if Chris has a Chain Lightning, now's when you play it. Although he doesn't. Yeah, he has a Felwar Stone. Now, me personally, I was wondered an artifact heavier deck with an ATOGs. I figured 1 out seems pretty nasty, actually. But one thing I always thought about, if I could pull it off, is playing 4 deserts in 1 deck. Yep. This is why I was talking about doing a Chain Lightning, because this isn't possible. You wouldn't possibly be able to play that if Chris sent off a Chain Lightning, because he would have died. He would have been at 1. But if Chris draws a Strip Mine, oh, there's the Chain Lightning. Yep. So that was good bait by Chris. Good job, guys. That's why you can't go below 4 against a deck that has Chain Lightnings. You will die. Great job. Let's go on to game number 2. All right, welcome back to game number 2. There's a factory and pass. Attack for 2. No stones for Kim. That's probably not a good thing. Kim's deck needs ramp. There's a Penelhaven into a Pixie. There's a chain to the Pixie, but lose a life. Attack for 2. Yep. City Brass damage. Slug. There's a Swamp King. Take 2 damage though. I'm wondering what's in Chris's hand here. There's a stone. Yep. This is where sideboard comes into play. We've talked about those cards quite often in the texts here in the different games. There's a Scavenger Folk to shut down the factory, and now the tides have turned really fast. I would attack for 2 here because you can't activate the factory. Yep. He's going to have to take the 2. You got to watch how much momentum you push. Sometimes you can fall behind pretty quick. Yep. Doesn't really have a choice there. There we go. Now next turn I expect a real big dude to pop out. Kim's going to have to play something, but he's going to take 2 damage doing it. There's an ATOG, which is, I guess, fodder, but pay a City Brass to play it. I always thought it was kind of cool with Maze of Ith and Scavenger Folks. If you attack with the Scavenger Folk, they decide to activate a factory or something because Scavenger Folk's tapped, you can untap it with Maze of Ith and activate the Folk. There's a chain right to the ATOG, removing that from blocking. You know he's not going to sack the factory, so the ATOG is dead. Is he really? Oh, I'm shocked. Well, now I would just... Wow. Yeah. Yep. See, this is the big guy I was talking about. You knew he was coming out. I'm assuming Chris is going to play a champion next turn. Kim is really getting screwed on mana here. That's why I didn't think he'd sack that factory, because he is really having a hard time with mana. Alright, that'll help. But if I was Chris, I'd blow my Scavenger Folk up. Not right now, though. There you go. I do a minus the Scavenger Folk. Or actually, no, you might as well attack with it, because he's not going to block the Folk. Because you pump it with your Penalhaven. So I would attack all out. If you attack with the Scavenger Folk, you can pump it with the Penalhaven. And he's forced to sacrifice the thing he just spent 1 life to play. So basically you are destroying an artifact at the same time. And what's he going to do? Take 6 damage? No. He's not going to block the Scavenger Folk. My guess he's going to block the Urnum. And just let the Tog die. Looks like we're having a little camera. There we go. Oh, we're tapping something here. Bloodlust. That's okay though, he takes another damage. But it sounds... Yeah, see now he's down to 10 from the city. But I'm expecting... Yeah, I was going to say, I expect either a champion or... I mean, we knew another big thing was going to be coming out, so now he's top decking. But I would have, on my end step, sacrificed the Scavenger Folk to destroy that Fellware Stone. Because now he's down to 1 land that doesn't do damage to him. Say he would have lost 2 life right there. Yeah, he's desperate for a big creature. So now you sacrifice the Scavenger Folk on Kim's end step. This is another big opportunity for that Scavenger Folk to go off. No? Okay. Chris must have a thought process, but I would have definitely taken him off of that Fellware Stone. There's the Alpha Strike. Yeah. So he's down to 1. I don't think there's anything Kim can do. Oh, now he finally gets a land. I hate when that happens. But sometimes it happens. That's magic, man. Hey, can't chain lightning because it would have killed him. Wow, what a finals. Congratulations, Chris. I'm pretty sure this is your first finals that you won. Congratulations, both of you, for getting there. But I hope you guys enjoyed Champions. I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Chris kind of refined my idea up a little bit, and I think it turned out well. I think you guys really enjoyed it. For what it sounds like, you guys had a blast. So I am really happy that you had a good time with this. And I just if you guys are out there and you watch one of these Four Horsemen videos and you're not a Four Horsemen player, give it a shot. You know, there's all kinds of stuff people say and see, but until you try something, you don't actually know the truth of it. And if you ever watch some of these games, you'll see nobody's really at each other. Everybody's really chill and calm and walk through things. Even if you make a play, it's not like a crazy thing, but we're talking about Abyss right here, I believe. So the thing about Abyss is the reason I play 2 drops of honey and a sideboard drop of honey is because they're like mini abysses. It's just an abyss on my turn. So I can't play Moat, even though I don't think Moat would be that game changing. It would definitely make control decks better. Um, but we're laying out the decks here a little bit. But yeah, the Abyss would definitely help. But the problem is there's no extra draw. Like you don't really have true draws. You have filters, but not really true draws. And the only way I see a true draw is, like I said, you have to blow up 3 card slots in your deck. You have to play Greed, Ivory Tower, like 2 Fountain of Youth, or at least 1 Fountain of Youth and an Ivory Tower. You need basically 4 to 5 real slots to make Greed useful. Otherwise, it's too chancy against burn decks and stuff like the fast aggros. But you can see Chris laying a deck out here. You saw the deck picture. So I'm just going to let this go for a minute. I hope you guys enjoyed this. They're going to show some of the stuff that they did. Yeah, Falling Star. I love that card. That is huge. Especially for ATOGs. Falling Star someone's board, swing through, sack a bunch of artifacts, and finish somebody off. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day.